The smoothies started arriving on the second day of January. My daughter Ashley knocked on my bedroom door at 7 in the morning, holding a tall glass of something green and frothy. The winter light coming through the window made her blonde hair glow like her mother's used to. For a moment, I forgot Linda was gone. "Morning, Dad," she said, smiling that bright smile I'd seen on her face since she was 6 years old. "I made you a wellness smoothie. Spinach, blueberries, protein powder. You need to keep your strength up." I took the glass. It was cold in my hands, heavy. "You didn't have to do this, sweetheart." Of course I did. She sat on the edge of my bed, the way she used to when she was little, and wanted to talk. "Mark and I talked about it. We're staying here for a while. You shouldn't be alone right now." Linda had been gone for 3 months. The heart attack took her while she was gardening, her hands still in the soil when I found her. The house in Portland had felt enormous since then, every room echoing with her absence. When Ashley called on New Year's Eve and said she and Mark wanted to come stay, help me through this difficult time, I'd cried on the phone. "Just until you're back on your feet," she'd said. I drank the smoothie. It tasted earthy, slightly bitter. Ashley watched me with those concerned eyes. "Good?" she asked. "It's healthy tasting," I said, and she laughed. That was how it began. Mark arrived later that morning with their suitcases. My son-in-law had always been energetic, quick to smile, quick to talk about his real estate business in Seattle. He shook my hand firmly, too firmly, and clapped my shoulder. "Robert," he said, "we're here for you, buddy. Whatever you need." They moved into the guest room. Ashley unpacked their things while Mark made lunch, whistling in my kitchen like he'd lived here for years. I sat in Linda's chair by the window, watching the rain streak down the glass. The house felt full again. I should have been grateful. I was grateful, wasn't I? By the end of the first week, Ashley had established a routine. Every morning, she made me a smoothie. Different flavors, different colors, but always thick, always heavy in my stomach. She'd stand there and watch me drink it, smiling. "You're looking better already," she'd say, even though I'd just woken up. Mark took over the cooking. Heavy breakfasts, big dinners. He'd pile my plate high with eggs and bacon and toast, more food than I'd eaten in months. When I'd try to protest, he'd laugh. "You're too thin, Robert. Linda would want you to eat." "Don't speak for Linda," I wanted to say. But I didn't. They were trying to help. They'd rearranged their lives to be here. Ashley had taken time off from her marketing job. Mark had handed his listings to other agents. The least I could do was eat the food they made. By the second week, something changed. I woke up one morning with a headache that felt like someone had driven a nail through my temple. My hands shook when I tried to button my shirt. The bedroom seemed to tilt slightly, like the floor wasn't quite level. Ashley appeared with the smoothie. Today it was purple, smelled like berries. "You okay, Dad?" she asked. "You look pale." "Just a headache," I said. "Didn't sleep well." "The grief," she said, nodding sympathetically. "It hits you in waves, doesn't it? Drink this. The antioxidants will help." I drank it. My stomach turned, but I finished the glass. Ashley took it from me, her fingers cool against mine. "Mark and I were talking," she said, still holding my hand, "about the house. It's so big for one person. Have you thought about, maybe, downsizing? We could help you find a nice condo, something easier to maintain." "This is my home," I said. "Linda and I built our life here." I know. She squeezed my hand. "Just think about it. We want what's best for you." The headaches continued. By week 3, I was having trouble remembering things, small things at first. Where I'd put my reading glasses, what day it was, whether I'd taken my blood pressure medication. Ashley started organizing my pills. "You took them twice yesterday, Dad," she said, arranging the bottles on the kitchen counter. "We need to be more careful. Let me handle this, okay? I'll make sure you take the right ones at the right time." I didn't remember taking them twice, but my memory had been foggy lately. She was probably right. Mark started suggesting I rest more. "You're pushing yourself too hard, Robert. Just relax. Watch some TV. We've got everything handled." So I did. I sat in Linda's chair and watched the rain and tried to remember what day it was. The smoothies kept coming. The big meals kept coming. My hands kept shaking. My head kept hurting. The room kept tilting. One afternoon in late January, Ashley sat down across from me with a stack of papers. "Dad," she said gently, "we need to talk about something important." I blinked at her. She seemed to shimmer slightly in the afternoon light. "Your memory," she said. "It's getting worse. Mark and I have noticed. Yesterday you asked me 3 times what day it was. This morning you couldn't remember where the bathroom was. Had I done that? I couldn't remember. I think." She paused, reached across, and took my hand. "I think you might be developing dementia, Dad. Early stages." The word hit me like cold water. "Dementia? It's okay," she said quickly. "Lots of people get it, but we need to be smart about this. While you're still clear-headed enough to make decisions, we should update your will, make sure everything is in order." I called a lawyer. "He can come by tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" My head felt full of cotton. "The sooner the better, Dad. You know how these things progress. Mom would want you to handle this while you still can." Mom. She meant Linda. My Linda, who used to garden in the backyard, who used to make me coffee every morning, who used to know me better than I knew myself. What would Linda want? I looked at my daughter's concerned face, at her worried eyes, and I wanted to trust her. She was my little girl, but something whispered in the back of my mind, something that sounded like Linda's voice. "Be careful, Robert. I need to think about it," I said. Ashley's smile tightened for just a second, just a fraction of a second. Then it was back, warm and concerned. "Of course, Dad. Take your time. But not too much time, okay? For your own sake." That night, I lay in bed and tried to think clearly through the fog in my head. The smoothies, the pills, the memory problems. When had this started? After Linda died? Or after Ashley and Mark arrived? I must have been confused. They were helping me. They'd dropped everything to be here. But Linda's voice kept whispering, "Be careful." The knock on my door came on a Saturday morning, 3 weeks after Ashley and Mark had moved in. I was sitting in the living room, trying to read the newspaper, but mostly just staring at the words without comprehending them. Ashley was in the kitchen, blending my morning smoothie. Mark had gone out to run errands. When I opened the door, I saw a woman I hadn't seen in 15 years. "Sarah," I said, and for a moment my head cleared, the fog lifting. Sarah Williams looked older, her hair streaked with gray now, but she still had those sharp eyes. She'd been Linda's best friend since college. They'd lost touch over the years, the way friendships sometimes do, but Linda had kept photos of them together in her dresser drawer. "Robert," Sarah said, "I'm so sorry about Linda. I just heard. I've been overseas." "She would have been glad you came," I said. "Can I come in?" I led her into the living room. Ashley appeared from the kitchen, holding my smoothie, her smile bright and welcoming. "Oh, Dad, you have a visitor." She set the glass down on the coffee table. "I'm Ashley, Robert's daughter." "Sarah Williams," Sarah said, shaking her hand. "I was a friend of Linda's." "How wonderful. I'll leave you two to catch up. I need to run to the store anyway." Ashley grabbed her purse. "Dad, make sure you drink your smoothie before it separates. Okay? I'll be back in an hour." She left. Sarah sat down across from me, but I noticed her eyes tracking Ashley through the window, watching her get into her car and drive away. "How are you really doing, Robert?" Sarah asked. "I'm managing," I said. "Ashley and her husband Mark are staying with me, helping out." "That's kind of them." Sarah's voice was careful. "How long have they been here? 3 weeks? A month? I'm not sure anymore." I rubbed my forehead. My memory hasn't been good lately. Ashley thinks I might be developing dementia. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she leaned forward. "Robert, I need to tell you something. I'm not just Linda's old friend. I'm a detective. I have been for 20 years. Portland PD. Retired last year." I stared at her. "And I didn't just happen to hear about Linda and decide to visit," she continued. "Your neighbor, Mrs. Chen, called me. She was worried about you. She said you used to walk every morning, rain or shine. Linda told me about that years ago. But Mrs. Chen said you stopped. She said she sees your daughter and son-in-law coming and going, but she rarely sees you anymore. She said when she did see you last week, you looked confused. Didn't recognize her, even though you've been neighbors for 12 years. My hands started shaking. I gripped the armrests of my chair. Mrs. Chen has known me a long time, Sarah said quietly. She knew Linda and I were friends. She asked me to check on you. And Robert, I need to ask you something. And I need you to think carefully. Do you trust your daughter? The question hung in the air between us. She's my daughter, I said. That's not what I asked. I looked at the smoothie sitting on the coffee table, green and thick, waiting for me. I looked at the pill bottles lined up on the side table, organized by Ashley. I looked at my hands, shaking even though I wasn't cold. I don't know, I whispered. Sarah nodded slowly. When did the symptoms start? After they arrived. But it must be a coincidence. They're here to help me. What symptoms exactly? Headaches, confusion, memory problems, shaking hands, nausea. Sarah stood up and walked to the coffee table. She looked at the smoothie for a long moment. May I take this? She asked. Why? Because I want to have it tested. Robert, I've been a detective for 2 decades. I've seen a lot of things. And right now, my instincts are screaming at me that something is very wrong here. You think Ashley is? I couldn't finish the sentence. I don't know what I think yet, but I know a lab that can tell us what's in this drink. Will you let me take it? I should have said no. I should have defended my daughter. But Linda's voice was whispering again. Be careful, Robert. Take it, I said. Sarah pulled a small container from her purse, carefully poured the smoothie into it, sealed it tight. Don't tell them I was here, she said. Don't tell them about the testing. Drink water when they give you smoothies, but find a way to dispose of them. The pills they're giving you, don't take them. Hide them. Can you do that? You really think? I don't know yet. But if I'm right, Robert, your life might depend on this. 3 days. Give me 3 days to get the results. Can you keep yourself safe for 3 days? I nodded. Sarah put a hand on my shoulder. Linda loved you very much. She told me once that you were the smartest man she'd ever known. Trust your instincts now. If something feels wrong, it probably is. After she left, I sat in the silent house and listened to my own breathing. The headache was coming back, pulsing behind my eyes. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Ashley came home an hour later with groceries. She made lunch, made another smoothie for the afternoon, asked if I'd drink the morning one. I told her I had. While she was gone, she smiled. That night, I palmed the pills she gave me and waited until I was alone to flush them down the toilet. The smoothie she made for dinner, I poured into the potted plant by the window when she wasn't looking. My head started to clear a little bit, just a little. The next morning, I woke up and my thoughts felt sharper. The fog was lifting, and as it lifted, I started to remember things. Ashley, 6 months ago, calling to ask if I'd updated my will recently. Me, laughing, saying I was only 65. I had plenty of time. Mark, at Thanksgiving dinner, asking questions about my retirement accounts, about the house value, about Linda's life insurance. Casual questions, friendly questions, but a lot of them. Ashley, 3 days after Linda's funeral, asking if Mom had any debt, any obligations that would need to be settled from the estate. The phone call on New Year's Eve. Ashley's voice, so concerned. Dad, you shouldn't be alone. Let us help. And I'd been so grateful, so relieved to not be alone in this big, empty house. I'd welcomed them in. I'd invited the wolves inside. No, I was being paranoid. This was my daughter, my little girl who I'd taught to ride a bike, who I'd walked down the aisle at her wedding, who called me every week to check in. But she hadn't called every week. Not for the last 2 years. The calls had gotten less frequent, more rushed. And when she did call, Mark was often in the background, mentioning money troubles, business problems, investments that hadn't panned out. I got up and went to my office. The room was dusty. I hadn't been in here since Linda died. Couldn't bear to sit at the desk where she used to pay bills and manage our accounts. But now I opened the filing cabinet and started pulling out papers. Bank statements, investment accounts, the house deed, Linda's life insurance policy, $500,000, the retirement fund, another $300,000, the house itself, worth close to $800,000 in Portland's market, $1.6 million. If I had dementia, if I signed a will while I was incapacitated, leaving everything to Ashley. If I died soon after, my hands were shaking again, but not from poisoning this time, from rage. The 3 days felt like 3 years. I pretended to drink the smoothies, dumping them whenever I could. I pretended to take the pills, palming them and flushing them. I pretended to be confused, forgetful, weak. It wasn't hard. Part of me still wanted to believe I was wrong. Ashley and Mark watched me carefully, too carefully. "Dad," Ashley said on the second day, sitting down with the papers again. "About the will. Have you thought about it? The lawyer can still come by. It would really give Mark and me peace of mind, knowing you're taken care of." "I'm too tired today, sweetheart," I said, letting my head loll back against the chair. "Maybe tomorrow." Her jaw tightened. "Just for a second." "Tomorrow, then," she said. That night, I heard them talking in the guest room. I stood outside the door, my ear pressed to the wood. "He's not drinking enough of it," Mark's voice frustrated. "He keeps saying he's not hungry." "I know. We need to increase the dosage." Ashley's voice, cold, in a way I'd never heard before. "If we can just get him to sign, then we can speed things up." "What if he won't sign?" "He will. He's weak, Mark. He barely knows what day it is. Another few days and he'll sign anything I put in front of him." Silence. "You're sure the smoothies can't be traced?" Mark asked. "Arsenic in low doses, mixed with his actual medication that's been tampered with? By the time anyone thought to test for it, it would just look like an old man who had a heart condition and confusion. Natural causes. Grief. Everyone will understand." I stepped away from the door. My heart was pounding so hard I thought they might hear it. I walked back to my bedroom, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed where Linda and I had slept for 40 years. My daughter was trying to kill me. My little girl was poisoning me for money. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But I couldn't do either, because tomorrow was the third day, and Sarah would have the results, and I needed to keep myself together until then. Sarah called the next morning while Ashley was in the shower and Mark was out jogging. "I'm outside," she said. "Don't let them see you talking to me. Meet me at the back door." I went through the kitchen, my legs unsteady, and opened the door. Sarah was standing on the porch, and her face told me everything before she said a word. "The smoothie had arsenic," she said quietly. "Small doses, but accumulating. Mixed with traces of your blood pressure medication, but at much higher levels than you should be taking. Robert, they're poisoning you." I nodded. I'd already known, but hearing it confirmed made it real in a way that shattered something inside me. "I heard them talking last night," I said, and told her what I'd heard. Sarah's face went hard. "We're calling the police, right now." "Wait." I grabbed her arm. "If we just call the police, they'll deny everything. Say I'm confused, that the arsenic must have been from pesticides or old pipes or something. I need proof. Proof they can't explain away." Sarah looked at me for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. "What are you thinking?" "They want me to sign a will. They're getting impatient. Tonight, I'll tell them. I'll do it tomorrow. That, I'm ready. They'll be so focused on that, they'll get careless. Can you set up cameras? Hidden ones? And can you have police ready to come when I call?" "This is dangerous, Robert. Everything is dangerous now. But I need them to confess. On camera. I need evidence so airtight that no one can ever doubt what they tried to do." Sarah studied my face. "You were an engineer. You know how to plan. I learned from the best." I touched the wedding ring on my finger. Linda always said I was too thorough, too careful. She'd want me to be careful now. "All right," Sarah said. "I'll set it up. But Robert, if at any point you feel unsafe, you call 911 immediately. Promise me." "I promise." That afternoon, while Ashley and Mark were out shopping, Sarah came back with a technician. They installed 3 cameras. One in the kitchen, hidden in a smoke detector. One in the living room, in a picture frame. One in my office, in a bookshelf. Audio and video. Streaming to Sarah's phone. "Tomorrow evening," I told Sarah. "I'll tell them I want to sign papers tomorrow evening. They'll make the smoothie extra strong. I'll pretend to drink it, pretend to be barely coherent, and I'll get them talking. You're sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything. The next morning, I played my part. Weak, confused, barely able to stand. Ashley made the smoothie with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She watched me drink it. I let some of it dribble down my chin. "Oh, Dad," she said, wiping my face like I was a child. "It's okay. You're okay." At lunch, I looked at her across the table. "I want to sign the papers," I said, my voice slurred. "Tonight. I want it done." Her face lit up. "Really? Oh, Dad, that's wonderful. That's so smart of you. Mark, Dad's ready to sign." Mark came in from the living room, and they exchanged a look of relief and excitement and greed. "I'll call the lawyer," Ashley said. "He can be here at 7. "No lawyer," I said. "Just family. Just us. I trust you, sweetheart. You can witness it." "But Dad, legally, please," I said, reaching for her hand with my shaking one. "I'm so tired. I just want this done. No strangers in the house. Just us." She hesitated, then smiled. "Okay, Dad, just us. Whatever makes you comfortable." That evening, they made me a smoothie that was darker than usual, thicker. Ashley brought it to me in the living room, where I sat in Linda's chair. "Drink up, Dad," she said softly. "You need your strength for signing the papers." I lifted the glass with both hands, like I could barely hold it, took a small sip, let my head fall back. "That's good," Ashley said. "Just rest a minute. The papers are ready whenever you are." Mark sat on the couch, watching me. Ashley sat next to him. They waited. "You know," I said, my voice weak and wandering, "Linda always said you were smart, Ashley. So smart. Smarter than me." "Mom loved you, Dad," Ashley said. "She did. She loved us both." I looked at my daughter. "Do you love me?" "Of course I do. That's why we're here." "Why are you really here?" I asked. Silence. "Dad, you're confused." "The smoothies," I said. "What's in them?" Ashley and Mark exchanged a glance. "Healthy things, Dad. We've been over this." "Arsenic," I said clearly, my voice suddenly strong. "And my medication, but too much of it. You've been poisoning me." Ashley's face went pale. "You're not making sense. You're confused." "I heard you," I said. 3 nights ago. Through the door. You said another few days, and I'd sign anything. You said by the time anyone tested, it would look like natural causes." Mark stood up. "Listen, old man. Sit down," I said, and my voice was cold. "Both of you sit down." Something in my tone made them freeze. "You're wearing a wire," Ashley whispered. "I'm not," I said. "But there are cameras, 3 of them, and they've been recording everything since this morning. Every word you've said, every smoothie you've made. And right now, Detective Sarah Williams is watching this feed, along with 2 officers from Portland PD. Ashley's face crumpled. "Dad, please. Was it worth it?" I asked. "The money? Was $1.6 million worth killing your father for?" "We needed it," Mark said suddenly. "My business failed. We're drowning in debt. Credit cards, loans, the house in Seattle. We're losing everything. So you thought you'd take everything from me instead." "You're old," Mark said. "You're alone. What do you need all that money for anyway? You're just going to die and leave it to charity or something. At least we need it." Ashley was crying. "Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't want to, but we had no choice. We were going to lose everything, and you're old, and Mom just died, and we thought it would be easier this way. For everyone." "Easier," I repeated. "Easier to kill me than to ask for help." "We did ask." Ashley stood up, her face red. 2 years ago. We asked for a loan and you said no. You said we needed to learn to manage our money better. So this is your fault too. And that, I said quietly, is all the confession we need. The knock on the door was sharp and official. "Portland Police! Open the door!" Mark ran for the back. He made it 3 steps before 2 officers came through the kitchen door. Sarah walked in through the front, her badge out, her face hard. "Ashley Martin, Mark Martin, you're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and elder abuse." The next few hours were a blur. Handcuffs. Rights being read. Ashley crying, Mark swearing. Police searching the house, bagging evidence, the smoothie blender, the pill bottles, the papers Ashley had drawn up, a will that left everything to her. Sarah sat with me at the kitchen table while the crime scene technicians worked. "You did good, Robert," she said. "That was brave." "It was necessary," I said. "Linda would have wanted me to fight. She would have been proud of you." I nodded, but I couldn't speak, because my daughter was being led out of my house in handcuffs, and even though I knew she'd tried to kill me, even though I knew she deserved this, she was still my little girl. Some part of me would always see the 6-year-old with the bright smile. "What happens now?" I asked. "They'll be charged. The evidence is overwhelming. The cameras, the confession, the lab results on the smoothie, the medication tampering. Robert, they're looking at 15 to 20 years minimum for Ashley, similar for Mark. 15 to 20 years. They're kids," I said suddenly. "Ashley has kids, 2 boys, 8 and 10. I haven't seen them in a year, but they're my grandchildren. Mark's parents will likely take them. Or they'll go into foster care if no family is suitable. I thought of those boys losing both parents because of greed, more victims of Ashley and Mark's desperation. I'll help them," I said, "financially, for their education. It's not their fault their parents are." I couldn't finish. "That's generous, considering. They're children," I said. "They shouldn't suffer for this." The trial took 6 months. Ashley pleaded not guilty, claimed I was confused, claimed the whole thing was a misunderstanding, but the evidence was overwhelming. The cameras, the confession, the lab reports showing arsenic in my system, the tampered medication, the financial motive. Mark tried to cut a deal, offering to testify against Ashley in exchange for a reduced sentence. In the end, the prosecutor accepted. Mark got 10 years for conspiracy. Ashley got 20 for attempted murder, elder abuse, and fraud. I sat in the courtroom when the verdict was read. Ashley looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, Daddy," she mouthed. I looked away. After the trial, after the sentencing, after the news crews finally stopped calling, I went to Linda's grave. The garden around the headstone was blooming. I'd hired someone to maintain it, to plant the flowers Linda would have loved. I sat on the bench next to her grave and talked to her the way I used to talk to her at breakfast. "She's gone," I said. "Our daughter is in prison, and I'm the one who put her there." The wind rustled through the trees. "She tried to kill me, Linda. Our little girl tried to kill me for money. And part of me, God help me, part of me still wants to forgive her. Part of me wants to believe she didn't mean it, that she was desperate, that I failed her somehow." I wiped my eyes. "But you told me to be careful. Even when you were gone, you were still trying to protect me. And I was careful. I stayed alive. But Linda, was it worth it? Staying alive if it means I lost my daughter anyway?" A robin landed on Linda's headstone, cocked its head at me. "Sarah says I did the right thing. Mrs. Chen says I'm brave. The lawyers say I'm lucky to be alive. But all I feel is old and tired and alone." The robin flew away. I set up a trust fund for the boys, Ashley's kids. They'll have money for college, for their future. Mark's parents are raising them. They're good people. Maybe the boys will be okay. Maybe they'll grow up better than their parents did. I stood up, my knees aching. "I loved her, Linda. I still love her. Does that make me weak? Stupid?" The wind didn't answer. It never did. "I'll keep living," I said. "I'll keep this house. I'll keep the garden growing. I'll keep our memories alive. And maybe one day, if Ashley writes to me from prison, I'll write back. Not because I forgive her, but because despite everything, she's still my daughter. And you always said family is complicated." I kissed my fingers and touched Linda's headstone. "I miss you," I said. "Every single day." That evening, I sat in the living room with a cup of tea I'd made myself. No smoothies, no pills I hadn't chosen to take. Just tea and silence, and the sound of rain on the windows. Sarah called to check on me. She'd become a regular presence in my life, dropping by once a week, making sure I was eating, making sure I was safe. She said it's what Linda would have wanted. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "I'm here," I said. "That's something." "It's everything, Robert. You survived. That's everything. After we hung up, I thought about that word, survived. Is that what this was? Survival? Maybe. Maybe that's all life is after a certain age. Surviving one loss after another until there's nothing left to lose. But then I looked around the living room, at the photos on the wall. Me and Linda on our wedding day, Ashley as a baby, before greed and desperation and debt turned her into someone I didn't recognize. Grandchildren I barely knew but would still support, still help, because they were innocent in all this. I looked at the garden through the window, still growing despite the rain, despite the dark months of winter. Surviving isn't nothing. Sometimes surviving is an act of defiance, a refusal to let the darkness win. I'm 65 years old. My wife is dead. My daughter is in prison. But I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I still have my memories, my mind, my will to keep going. Sarah was right. That's everything. The house is warm tonight. Outside, Portland is dark and rainy, the way it always is in February. But inside, there's light, there's heat, there's the photograph of Linda smiling at me from the mantel. And there's me, an old man who refused to die quietly. Sometimes that's all the revenge you need against a world that wants to break you. Surviving. Still here. Still fighting. That's all the story I have to tell. It's not a happy story, but it's a true one. And sometimes, in the darkness, truth is the only light we have.